continue to funnel our taxpayer dollars to a foreign government? Do they not understand how out of touch this looks? You don't obviously care about the American people. End all of these wars.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Quest for Clarity podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. As you can see, new background, new microphone. We got an entire new setup here for the podcast. I'm really liking it so far. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments section. But we got a lot of news to get into today. So we're going to start off talking about the ceasefire in Gaza. Hopefully, the hopeful ceasefire in Gaza. So Donald Trump on Truth Social the other day announced that Israel had agreed to terms for a 60-day ceasefire in Gaza, and that it was now on Hamas to accept those terms. So if all of this is true, then that's amazing news, great news. We'll see what happens in the aftermath. This also came after a very strange truth post from Donald Trump, basically urging the Israeli courts to drop their charges on Benjamin Netanyahu and in Netanyahu's corruption trial. Now, this was a very strange tweet, and the timing of it was also very strange. Now, this came, I believe, a day after Donald Trump's rant against both Israel and Iran when Israel launched their retaliatory strikes against Iran after the ceasefire had taken effect. Donald Trump went on his rant. We talked about it last episode, that he said they both don't know what the F they're doing, and that he criticized it. He criticized it was the toughest he's ever been on Israel and on Benjamin Netanyahu. And just hours later, he releases a truth post basically urging the courts in Israel to drop their charges against him. Now, this is very strange. We all know Donald Trump, if he's mad at somebody, goes all out to target them, to take them down. I mean, look at Emmanuel Macron, president of France. He'll go after Justin Trudeau, former prime minister of Canada. He'll go after Thomas Massie for opposing a spending bill. He'll go after Rand Paul for opposing a spending bill. He'll go all out, make ads targeting these people. But then the only person that he won't go after with the gloves off is Benjamin Netanyahu. Why is that? I don't know. There's obviously different ways you can speculate that. You can say, I mean, some people could say that it's because the Israel lobby and Miriam Adelson and the Israel lobbyists gave him $200 million in the campaign. But I don't really think that makes the difference for Donald Trump, because so did Elon Musk, and he was quick to throw Elon Musk under the bus when he opposed the spending bill. I don't think it's the fact that he's getting the money. I don't think Donald Trump really cares too much about that. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate some craziness that I don't know. But there's, for some reason, but Donald Trump is unwilling to go all out against Benjamin Netanyahu in the same way that he does with everyone else. Just days after that, there doesn't seem to be any changes in the court case for Benjamin Netanyahu. And look, the reason that Donald Trump's doing that may also be because he feels like it'll help push Netanyahu over the edge to being willing to end the war in Gaza. Because right now, if he ends the war, he knows he's going to trial right after, and he's probably going to jail, because this corruption case is very... I mean, there's documentaries about it. You can read articles about this case. It's kind of overwhelming, the evidence against Benjamin Netanyahu. So Donald Trump's thinking, if he can get the case out of the way as a barrier to peace, then maybe Netanyahu will be willing to end the war. Let's also get back into the state of the war right now. So the state of the war in Gaza is as awful as ever. It's as brutal as it's been. The ceasefire is not in effect, obviously, right now. They haven't done it. They haven't passed the ceasefire. The ceasefire hasn't gone through yet. But the state of warfare right now in Gaza is absolutely brutal. Don't get it twisted. Just a few days ago, one of the biggest reports in a long time came out of Gaza, where Haaretz, the Israeli newspaper, interviewed a bunch of Israeli IDF soldiers, and they admitted that they were ordered to shoot into the direction of Palestinian civilians that were coming to get aid. To understand the situation and how insane this is, you have to understand that there have been repeated incidents where there have been aid sites set up by the IDF for Palestinian civilians. Palestinian civilians show up to get the aid, the food, the water, all the aid packages. And then once they show up, shots fired into the crowd from unknown areas. There's just random shots fired. It's chaos, and there's people stampeding and trampling each other, and people die. And there's been dozens of people killed in these shootings. And every single time, the IDF denies that they were involved in the shootings. They say it was either Hamas, or they say it was some other terrorist group that's trying to fight against Hamas or against Israel. There's all these crazy stories, but they've always denied being involved. And now, after all that denial, there's been IDF soldiers that have admitted, yes, they were ordered to shoot in the general direction of civilians when there was no threat present. There was no threat present, they said. They were even quoted saying it's a killing field. So, bombshell, bombshell, bombshell report from Haaretz the other day, which was, of course, denied by the IDF right away. They called it a blood libel, which, I mean, that's just, you can call it whatever you want, but you have soldiers admitting that this is what happened after days of speculating that this is probably what happened from independent journalists saying, no, that was IDF soldiers. There's reports that said the bullets that were found at the site were the same bullets used by the IDF. Look, the evidence was overwhelming to begin with that this was probably IDF soldiers, but we were all unaware. They were ordered to do this. This was the plan. Absolutely insane coming from the IDF. There was also a report, I believe yesterday or the day before, there were sites from independent journalists in Gaza. There were videos taken of a bombed cafe that is like seaside along the coast of Gaza. A cafe was just completely obliterated. And reports from these independent Palestinian journalists say that this cafe was notorious where the journalists would actually meet up because there was Wi-Fi at the cafe. So this was not anywhere that you could say that Hamas was. You can't say that this was targeting Hamas. This seems from all the available evidence that they were targeting the journalists in Gaza. Absolutely inhumane, disgusting. Up to this point, where we are hopefully moving towards a ceasefire in this war against the civilian population in Gaza, there have been over 20,000 dead children, over 50,000 total Palestinians killed in this war. We don't know how many Hamas were killed. It is from all available numbers, a minority of these people killed were Hamas. So a majority were innocent civilians, men, women, and children that had nothing to do with this. Just to know the state of Gaza at the moment, that is what we're looking at in this war. And this, as any honest person will admit, I mean, this is just beyond justice or revenge for the killing of the Israelis on October 7th, which was, of course, awful. Killing of innocent civilians is always unjustified. It's absolutely unjustified. That's why we don't like October 7th, and that's why we don't like what Israel is doing right now in Gaza. And, I mean, you watch these debates on this topic. You can watch Piers Morgan. He hosts a bunch of debates on this topic. Lex Friedman recently hosted a debate between Scott Horton and this other historian about Israel and Iran. You see a lot of common rationales from the pro-Israel side of why this war is absolutely necessary, why this war is justified, why Israel must conduct it the way they have. And one of the common rationales is Israel isn't trying to target civilians. And I don't know how they can tell that. All the available evidence points to the opposite conclusion. The only way that they could come to that conclusion, that they aren't targeting civilians, women and children, is by just believing inherently that Israel is always seeking to do the right thing, and that everyone else is always seeking to do the wrong thing. I don't know if these people understand, but there can be a gray area there, and it is possible that the IDF is seeking to do bad things. If a bomb is dropped on a building, and the justification for that is we didn't mean to kill we didn't mean to kill the innocent men, women, and children in that building. We only were targeting the 1 or 2 Hamas soldiers that were in that building. Well, you can say that you warned them all to get out of the building. You can say you didn't want to kill them all, but that doesn't matter at all because now they're all dead. You dropped a bomb knowing there were men, women, and children not involved with Hamas in that building, and you still dropped it. You killed all of them. That is, by definition, intentional. You intentionally dropped that bomb knowing that innocent civilians would die as a result. That's unjustified. You cannot justify that whatsoever. I mean, how can you blame the rest of the world? I mean, we just saw the other day. I mean, it's hilarious, the hypocrisy that you see from the pro-Israel side of. It's not even hypocrisy. It's the bizarre ways in which they want to be outraged. They want to be outraged at the most, like, while there is a ongoing ethnic cleansing campaign going on in Gaza, they choose to be outraged at something completely not even important, really, which was at this music festival. I think it was a crowd of like probably a couple tens of thousands of people, and there were people holding Palestinian flags and saying death to the IDF, chanting that. Now, look, that's not the way I would choose to go out and protest this. There's plenty of more useful ways that you don't look like kind of just like a pack of, like, you don't look crazy. There's many ways. Do what I'm doing right now. There's ways that you can argue against what the IDF is doing that don't involve going into a crowd and chanting death to the IDF, because that seems a little unhinged. But this focus on it from the pro-Israel crowd as if that's the only thing in the world to be outraged at right now. Not the ongoing ethnic cleansing campaign in Gaza, not the deaths of tens of thousands of innocent Palestinian civilians, but this chant at a music festival. That is what we have to focus all of our outrage at. That is the biggest pressing issue of our time right now, is this chant at a music festival. I mean, you're not fooling anyone anymore. This is just so blatantly absurd that we all must be focused on this chant at a music festival while there are tens of thousands of dead Palestinian women and children right now. No, sorry, I don't actually really care at all about this chant at a music festival. I care more about what the IDF is doing with my taxpayer dollars. They're using America's weapons and America's taxpayer dollars to conduct an ethnic cleansing campaign in Gaza and killing women and children with bombs that have American flags on them. I'm sorry that I don't care about a death to the IDF chant. I care more about the fact that my taxpayer dollars are going to fund that. Sorry. Kind of to wrap this up here, with the news of the day again, we have, hopefully, a ceasefire coming soon. If that is, that would be great. Now, I hope that the ceasefire doesn't lead to the conclusion of what Donald Trump earlier on had suggested the U.S. is going to do. He earlier on suggested that the U.S. was going to take over the Gaza Strip and embark on some nation-building endeavor to make it the Mediterranean of the Middle East. No. Sorry, no, that's absolutely not going to happen. That's not what I want my taxpayer dollars going to. A nation, have we lost our minds? Anyone in the movement, in the MAGA movement that is for this, have you lost your mind? Do you not understand that this was exactly what the 2016 campaign was against? On that debate stage, Donald Trump berating Jeb Bush for what his brother did in the wars in the Middle East, lying us into war after war after war, into nation-building campaigns in the Middle East. And now you're going to tell me we're going to embark on that in Gaza? Absolutely not. We're not. Sorry. That better not be what's happening. I heard rumors that, I think it was Egypt and maybe the Saudis, I believe, were the two countries. I might be wrong on that. But there were two other Middle Eastern countries that were going to essentially take control of the Gaza Strip. Yes, that's a deal I will be happy with. Take that. You guys can take that. You guys can take control of the Gaza Strip. What I want is for America to be completely not involved in the Middle East. I want us to get all of our troops out of there. We have no business being in the Middle East right now. We have done nothing but destabilize the region, and to think that pattern would suddenly break if we got involved in a nation-building campaign in Gaza is to be absolutely delusional and to ignore all available evidence of the past 25 years of nation-building campaigns in the Middle East. So that's where I think I'm going to end it off today. Hopefully some promising news in Gaza. Be sure to stay tuned to the podcast for latest episodes on this. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good day.